So it's that time of the month with Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 18. We are starting to see the sneak peeks come out. And the first one that does come out is one regarding Matsuri and Koharu. There are going to be a lot more leaks that end up being revealed, and the sneak peek leaks tend to be the most non-eventful part of the chapter. So if you see something that's a bit boring, just know why. But even though we don't see too much with Koharu and Matsuri, we are given more hints of a potential betrayal from the Shinju. A lot of people's main candidate to end up betraying the Shinju is Hidari, but I would also like to voice Matsuri as a candidate, and I'll explain why after reading exactly what we get from the sneak peek page. This is what we have here. We have a Matsuri who begins by saying, "I was really nervous, but I don't even know why. At first I was uneasy, but as we talked, I started to feel calm little by little. After all, it's the first time we met," Konohama replies. "Talking to you makes me feel like I can become the person I want to be in the future. It's really fun." "Is that so? Well then, that's good. Can I call you Konohama?" And I'm not gonna say the last part in the Japanese way, simply because it's not gonna sound authentic coming from me. However, what we do see here is a little bit of a conversation that a lot of people probably don't want to see when it comes to love and everything, especially for people who read shonen manga. Love, the concept of love and seeing characters in love, is not something that most people care to see. However, what we do get here from Matsuri is her saying that she has a desire to become a certain type of person, and being around Konohama makes her feel like she is slowly becoming the person that she wants to be in the future. And that's quite interesting because I haven't seen this being shown to us when it comes to the rest of the members of the Shinju. Most of the Shinjus are simply following Jira's instructions of finding their targets by diving deep into the person that they have the most connection with. And we've seen this being manifested by the likes of Sarada, by the likes of Konohama, Ada, and all these various characters that are being targeted. But what we have here is somebody that is in front of her targets, in the fact of Matsuri being right next to Konohama. When we see the likes of Jira and Hidari get in front of their targets, the first thing that they have tried to do is devour them. But we haven't even seen an attempt from the likes of Matsuri that this is the case. So who is this person that she wants to be in the future? Maybe this person that she wants to be in the future isn't somebody that ends up devouring Konohama. And I think this is being made quite clear. She wants to call Konohama by his first name. I know that in Japan, this is something that is quite critical and does show that you are getting quite close to a person by calling them by their first name, because usually you go by the last name. So I do understand what is being showcased here, but what is surprising to me is that Konohama is the one that she is supposed to devour. So her calling Konohama by his first name entails that she longs for a deeper relationship. However, this is the guy that she's supposed to devour. These two things cannot coincide, which to me leads to me believing that Matsuri isn't actually going to devour Konohama. And we actually have a lot of hints for this being the case. The only reason that they end up going to devour their candidates is because Jira told them to go and look deep within and their target will reveal. However, their so-called target doesn't necessarily mean that their target is somebody, "Oh, I want to fight this person," or "I actually want to devour this person." From what we are currently seeing, the pattern is that those are the people that they are the closest to, that they have some type of love for. Sarada and Sasuke, we can clearly see that with the fact that Hidari is targeting Sarada, which makes a lot of sense. However, the target that they end up picking doesn't necessarily entail some sort of a beef or some sort of a problem between those two individuals. The only pattern we've seen is that those are the closest people that the people before they return into Shinjus have loved. When Matsuri first found out her target, she said that she might want to eat Konohama, which is important verbiage because it tells us that it's not something definitive. And the reason why Hidari wanted to eat Sarada, it wasn't because there was any sort of malice, it was because he was trying to figure out more about himself. And due to the fact that Sarada had the Sharingan, Sarada is the person who he feels some sort of connection with, then it must mean that by devouring Sarada, he is eventually going to figure out a lot more about himself. And that's the reason why Sarada was being targeted and was almost devoured if Boruto did not come to save her. However, when it comes to Matsuri, the person that she wants to understand is a person who she loves romantically, and thus to build that sort of romantic relationship, Konohamaru can't die. Which is why we are not seeing Matsuri trying to kill Konohamaru, because the person that she wants to be in the future, as described in this text, is a person who gets to have a deep relationship with the likes of Konohamaru, which explains why she wants to call Konohamaru by his first name. She wants to become close enough to Konohamaru for the likes of them to develop some sort of a relationship in the future or deepen their romantic bond. And for this to be the case, for her to be so vulnerable, I really don't feel like Konohamaru is going to be able to complete this mission. It's been foreshadowed for a bunch of times. This is quite clear to me that there's no way that Konohamaru ends up fulfilling this mission, in my own personal opinion. But what you could end up seeing is Konohamaru obviously not completing the mission, but Matsuri potentially joining the side of Konohamaru, or through the likes of Konohamaru, she even ends up joining the side of the Leaf. How exactly that would work, truly I do not know, but what we will end up seeing is potentially if Ryu and the others end up fighting the likes of Sarada, Mitsuki, and the guys for the Land of Wind, we could have a Matsuri who ends up stopping that fight if Team 7 ends up losing and is the one who ends up controlling Ryu. As this entire time, the one who has been instructing Ryu has been the likes of Matsuri multiple times during this conversation. During the fact that Team 7 ended up meeting Ryu and Matsuri, Matsuri was the one who asked Ryu to end up taking over. However, due to their hierarchy, Ryu was the one who told Matsuri to take over, but due to the fact that Matsuri was so flustered, she let Ryu do most of the talking. Throughout their conversations, Ryu is always calling Matsuri senpai, which entails the hierarchy in their relationship. So Matsuri definitely holds a little bit more power when it comes to Ryu, not necessarily in strength, as I really haven't seen too much from Matsuri, but most definitely in influence. And what's also quite interesting is that one of the first few phrases that Matsuri ends up telling Code when she is born, that it is laughable how Code's fate is for him to be used by the people around him. But it is kind of becoming ironic here when we're seeing the fact that Matsuri is currently being used, in the fact that her emotions towards Konohamaru, as it doesn't really feel like Konohamaru shares those same feelings for Mawegi or Matsuri, but they are preying on those emotions to end up not only killing her, but betraying the Shinju, leading to their extermination. Will this plan end up working? Probably no, but she is almost going down that same path of being used by the people around her. And this almost is even worse when you think about the fact that the person she is being used by right now is somebody that she loves, which is going to be even more interesting seeing how this plan works. What I do believe will really cause damage when it comes to the Shinju is the fact that at the current moment, they don't find the Leaf guys to be all that evil. But after such a deed, you know how fast love can turn into hate. After such a deed that Konohamaru will either try to do or fail to achieve, will ultimately leave the Shinju to resent the guys from the Hidden Leaf Village. So I really wonder how everything is going to end up working. But even though this is what we are being showed, do not be confused in the fact that this is probably the most boring part of the chapter, because from what I'm currently seeing, this most likely happens early on in the chapter, as it really continues off perfectly from where we were last chapter. Last chapter, Konohamaru and Matsuri had finally found a spot where they could be alone, separated from those other guys. Konohamaru was in the process of finding a place for them to end up sitting, and this is what we're seeing right here. Konohamaru and Matsuri having that so-called conversation to help Matsuri ease down. The fact that she is finally starting to feel less nervous entails that we are right in the beginning of the chapter. So the fact of Kawaki still getting his limiters removed and having that intriguing conversation with Konoha is still going to happen in this chapter. It just wasn't shown because they're not going to expose the most interesting part of the chapter in the sneak peek. we'll either have to wait for the spoilers or the chapter themselves, depending on how good the spoilers are this month. And also, there is a second sneak peek that will be coming out, so I'll probably cover it if we don't get the full spoilers. And when I say the full spoilers, I'm talking about the pages that we used to get. However, for the last chapter, we did not. We only got text spoilers. So what's most likely going to happen, depending on the fact of whether we get full spoilers or not. If we only get text spoilers, which means the one from Ray, I will feature those ones and the sneak peek that comes out. However, if we get the full spoilers, I will not cover the future sneak peek that ends up being released, as you would have already seen that sneak peek page in the spoilers that end up being released. And since we're talking about Boruto news and everything that is coming out, there is going to be some news during March about the future projects that Studio Pierrot is going to work on. I really hope that it includes something about Boruto, but manage your expectations is most likely going to be the 4 episodes, but maybe we could end up hearing something about Boruto being in production, some cool news about Boruto. I would love to hear that. But when it comes to this sneak peek page, this is pretty much everything I have to say. Let me know, Hidari or Matsuri, who do you guys think will be the first one to end up betraying the Shinju? Or maybe you think that none of them will end up betraying the Shinju, or potentially just one. Let me know all of that in the comment section below. It's been your boy Dynasty, and I'm out, bruh.